What is up, everyone? Now, I was just doing a little bit of evening maintenance on the Blackwater Gnarly wood, I don't remember what I called it, tank behind me, because, well, I have just finished quarantining the rarest and most expensive fish I currently own. And to be honest, it's terrified me, if I'm totally honest, but they've been doing great in quarantine, so now they're ready to go in here. And then I remembered that all of you wanted to see how the new Oase Biomaster2 had performed on this tank. And I'll be honest, we've given it a tough ride, because Blackwater tanks with this much leaf litter breaking down, they produce a lot of waste. And, well, to be fair, this filter has dealt with it very, very well. Now, as I say, I was partway through cleaning my Scaping aquarium to get these fish in here, probably later on this evening. And I was just going to do a quick little video releasing them and talking about them. And then I thought, you know what, actually, doing all the cleaning and adding the plants to this aquarium that you all sort of, well, we discussed it in the comments when we were setting up this aquarium in the last video. I think it does need a pop of green over on that side. The Hygrophila, Corymbosa, or I'm not even sure how you want to say that, is doing really well. It's hit the surface. There's a few holes where the fish have nibbled it, but it's not the end of the world. It's actually doing quite well. And a few hardy plants over this side, I think will just set it off quite nicely. And obviously, when we set up this aquarium, we were using the new Oase Biomaster2 thermo on this tank, which was one of the first ones into the country. And we were sort of giving it a bit of a test run to see, well, how all the new changes that they've implemented were going to affect it. And I think you can see from the flow rate that you've got at that end of the aquarium currently, to be honest, it has done really well. And like I say, the amount of leaf litter that has broken down inside this aquarium, it is, well, dealing with it. Those foams inside it and that new 10 ppi pre-filter foam that comes with the 850, what we've got running on here, well, it hasn't slowed down. It is still flowing really, really well. Now, they have made loads of changes to the Biomaster 2 with a different shaped head unit inside, so it gets rid of any air that might be locked inside the filter. The 850 that we've got on here is something like 12% faster than its predecessor, the Oase Biomaster. Well, it wasn't called the one, it was just called the Biomaster. But yeah, it is 12%, and some of them are up to 25% faster. So yeah, they've made some really good improvements. And the new spray bar that is probably my favourite thing. So the spray bars are now made out of this new clear plastic that you can see, and they honestly look so much better than any of those like old bulky black plastic ones that companies normally use. So yeah, having that like perfect up and over means that the flow rate is going to be far better. You're getting less right angles, and also it generally just looks better in the aquarium. It's just a tidier, cleaner look. It's essentially the look of glassware without having glassware. And I'll be honest, I've broken so much glassware on my external filters over the years, I don't really want it anymore. Now, as you can see, on a filter that has been running over a month in a Blackwater leaf litter laden aquarium, with lots of muck, lots of botanicals breaking down, well, that's the flow rate. I haven't cleaned this filter once yet, so I will be interested to see how much muck it has caught and how it's actually done internally, because on the outside, the filter grill hasn't hardly blocked up. I might have cleaned it off once or twice. You can't really see it because there's plants and rocks and wood in the way, but you can see from the flow rate, it's still running really quickly. Now, for the sake of my microphone and audio and actually working with this, when I come to edit it, I'm actually just going to turn that spray bar down into the water. That will stop a lot of the noise. Now, before we add these cool fish and before we decide what other plants are going in here, we need to clean the filter. And this is the filter in question, the new Biomaster 2 850. Now, it's fairly simple to clean because you have got the pre-filter built into this section here. But I've just had a thought, actually. If I'm going to be stirring up the tank, we should probably do a bit of planting and trimming first, because otherwise I'm just going to be making the filter mucky again. Yeah, so actually before going mad and actually stripping that out, I want to trim that Hygrophila back, and I also want to get some plants in there and maybe there. And some of you mentioned some more floating plants, which I might be able to make a ring to go at that end to keep them in place like I did this end. Now, I am actually in agreement with a lot of you that the floating plant island down that end looks good, but another little one at this end, sort of wrapped around this spray bar, would actually look really good as well. Now, what I'm hoping is that this spray bar comes in 3 parts. So if I just take that off for a minute, I think we can adjust it easier when it's off of the filter. Oh, that is some flow. Now, what I'm thinking is you can see the outlets are these like funny letterbox sort of shaped ones, which is quite cool. Now, what I'm tempted to do is this first one, we're going to point it down into the tank, and then those 2 we're going to point out, so that then the floating plants that are floating around this area hopefully don't get battered by that spray bar, and then the other 2 can just continue spraying water around the tank. Now, all I do to keep my floating plants in check is I use a piece of airline as like a little corral or holder, or I don't know, keep in check, I don't know what you would call it, but it literally stops the floating plants from disappearing around the aquarium. So I just cut a length of it, make it into a ring with a connector for the airline, and that's it. And then I can literally attach it to that spray bar, and hopefully that will keep the floating plants at that end. I just need to make sure the spray bar nozzles aren't going to destroy the roots, but I think we'll be okay. So we'll push this connector into one end of it, which will make our lives easier, because I've got to reach over the back of this aquarium and try and get this pushed around the spray bar while trying to push that in. So yeah, that'll work. And I don't want to get any water in it either, because then it will sink, and that's not the point of this. Right, I have made it quite a bit smaller than the other one, because I don't want too many floating plants at this end. Is that going in? There we go. Now, once that water level rises up, and obviously I've put a bucket of water back in, that should sit perfectly like that, and it will just keep the floating plants in check, like we have done down that end. You can see where it's out of the water now, and it's sort of, yeah, hanging above it. But yeah, keeps them just in one place. So we'll fill that with floating plants, and then we've got to do some plants down in this bit as well. Now, the other thing I want to make sure I've done is actually cut back this plant. Now, that one's okay because that one's still only that high, but these ones at the back here have got huge, and they're just going to go really leggy. You can see already where some of the bottom leaves aren't getting enough light. So if we trim them back here, you can already see new shoots coming through, and that will just mean those new shoots have a bit of a chance to actually grow. Now we'll just replant these shoots into the sand next to the mother colony, because they will come in handy, and we'll give another stem to come up through. I don't know if I can get that one around the back there somewhere. But yeah, any stem plants that you cut off like that, you can just chuck them back in the substrate, and they will eventually throw out roots from here and will start rooting. I might just take those bottom 2 leaves off, because they're going to end up in the sand and they'll end up breaking down. But yeah, they will root quite happily. Now, with that one trimmed back, I was a bit unsure as to what plant to put in here. The new fish that are going in here that I am a little bit terrified of, to be honest with you, because of I've wanted them for so long. So long. I remember looking at them in books, and there was only a couple of breeders that we had access to that I could get them from, and they were insanely expensive back then. So this is a fish I have looked at for years, and I don't think they need more cover, but I think it's going to be good with more cover. All of these rocks and caves that we've got going on is going to be great for them, but I do want more cover. And I sort of racked my brains over what plants. I didn't really want any more stem plants, because I'm not too sure how the Festives are going to react to them as they grow. They might start nibbling on them. So I went with some African fern. So this is Bolbitis, or Bolbitis, however you want to say it, and it is an African species of fern that grows underwater. Lush plant, really dark green once it goes under the water. It gets like, this is quite a light green, but normally, most of the time that I've kept it ends up going darker. I can literally dot them in amongst the wood, in amongst the rocks, where I see fit, because they are an epiphyte, so I don't need to plant them in a substrate. I don't need to feed them a lot. They can literally jam into a crevice and they'll root onto something. So I've got a few of them to dot through. We'll see how that looks. Have got some other plants, but I think we're going to leave it as that then. Now, before I go slinging these plants into the aquarium, I do actually need to give them a quick clean. So all of this rock wool needs to come off, all of the pot needs to come off, and we just want to be left with essentially the plant and its root. None of this rock wool stuff, because eventually that will break down in the aquarium and yeah, just make a hell of a mess. So if we can get rid of all of this, that'll be ideal. So with the Bolbitis all prepped and clean, all we need to do is find some suitable gaps in amongst the wood and rocks and jam them in. I might end up gluing some of them to some rocks because it's not hard, just a little bit of cyanoacrylate glue and a little pebble to glue on there. But with the way that this tank is scaped, I think there's enough crevices that I can just push them into gaps, hopefully. Yep, happy with the decision I have made there, because that Bolbitis is just, well, it looks uniform through the whole tank. It's one species, and like I say, it will normally get darker than this. It's quite a bright, vivid green, but under this light and in this tank, it'll normally go like a really dark British racing green. But whatever colour it ends up, I really like the uniform continuity that we've got through the tank now. It's still only 2 species of plant in the whole aquarium, and those are just going to provide some cover for these new fish going in. And to be fair, some cover for the Festives, because the Festives have been getting a little bit, well, we've got the pair, and the pair have been getting a little bit settled, and the other 2 have been taking, yeah, a little bit of a chasing. So hopefully this will help them chill out, because the more you can break up the line of sight in an aquarium with plants and wood and rock, the more chilled out your fish generally will be, because they can't see each other all the time. But yeah, that'll be ideal. So let's get this Biomaster2 opened up and see what's going on inside. In theory, the pre-filter on the 850 and the 600 have now been changed over to this 10 ppi foam, which is like a coarser foam than they used to run. Now that should mean it lets a lot more waste through into the sponges. So you might find that the main sponges are a little bit dirtier than normal, or if you're used to a Biomaster, sorry, that makes more sense. But yeah, you might find the main sponges have got a little bit more muck in them, but the pre-filter won't need changing or cleaning as often. So it swings and roundabouts. I have actually got all the foams, so I'll show you what I mean by all the different range of foams that they do for the pre-filter. Now, when doing any maintenance on your Biomaster thermos, always make sure you turn the heaters off. They're obviously on a separate plug, so yeah, you want to make sure you're turning them off. Now, yeah, so unlock the piping, get rid of that out the way, and then we can get the filter out. So first up, let's get this pre-filter out and see how this has dealt with this black water tank and the amount of leaves and botanicals that have probably gone into it. Now, the reason I love having these pre-filters on here is because, well, actually you don't need to worry too much about cleaning the main foams, because the majority of the muck is going to get caught in these, and they do look a little bit cleaner than obviously the really fine ones that I run in my other Biomaster filter, which is the Biomaster 1 on the paludarium in the corner of my room. They're definitely a little bit cleaner, but if I take them off, you can also see, hang on, let me slide that out, the new spray bar design, if you missed it in the last video, that is a big change. So there's a lot more holes, there's going to be a lot more flow, and that's probably where some of the extra flow rate has come from in redesigning that. And I'll show you in a minute inside the head, because that's been redesigned too. Now, a big shout out to Oase, because they obviously got me the Biomaster2 into the country. Yeah, one of the first ones into the country, which was really cool. So big shout out and a big thank you to them for sending that over for me to have a look at and test and play with and see the improvements that they've made. But also big shout out to them, because I spoke to them about wanting to show all you guys and girls all the different PPI foams. And they hooked me up. So I have got all the different size foams that Oase do for the pre-filters, and I can show you the difference from essentially the 10 PPI that is the new foam that's going to be coming with the 850 and the 600, all the way down to, hang on, what are you? You're carbon, no, 60. That's the one. So that, I'm going to take out the packet for you, but that is the finest one that they do. So, hang on, let me just, I'll cut and I'll come back once I've opened these 5 packets. Right, so I have unpacked all of the different foams. So we have got the 10 PPI, which is the one that I am running in this 850, and it will be coming as standard with the 850 and the 600. So you can see how much that's going to let through. But you can see all the different pore sizes. So you can customize it to however you want it. If you want it really, really fine and you want to pick up every single particle that's pretty much in your aquarium in a foam, then you would run that one, which is the 60 PPI, and there is going to be very little that is going to get through that. You are going to have to clean your pre-filter fairly often, but it's really not that bad. I'd rather have something that's like almost quick release, take it out, rinse it off, chuck it back in, away you go, rather than having to pull a whole filter out or undo loads of knobs or unclip loads of things. It's literally like, what, 2 plugs, that lever, pull that out. Yeah, that's it. It's a very quick process. Now, personally for me on this filter, I have been running the 10 PPI now for, about a month, just over a month. And it was fairly clean. It really didn't take a lot of cleaning. There you go, look, that's the new one and the old one. And yeah, there was hardly any muck in there. So I'm actually going to, not upgrade, but change it out to this one, which is, what is it? A 30 PPI. So yeah, it is going to be a little bit finer. And I'm just going to see how long it lasts between, well, me cleaning it and it blocking up. I think something like a 60 would be insane in the black water, because it is going to be just catching every single particle that's known to the aquarium, and it would be very clean, but yeah, it wouldn't be ideal in a black water aquarium. So yeah, we're going to change it over to these, see how they get on for a month, and I'm sure I'll be adding some more fish in the next month or messing around with it, so I'll bring you all back to show you how those foams have done compared to the 10 PPI ones. We'll see how they get on. Oh, I forgot to mention the one that's on my thumb. That is a carbon foam. So a carbon foam, obviously that's going to remove any smells, colorations, any tannin from the water. Obviously I want the yellow tannins in this water. I'm going for that Amazonian sort of forest floor look. So I want that. So there'll be no point in me running these in here. But if you're doing like a big, I don't know, like African cichlid tank, and you want that water to be like crystal clear, almost that lake sort of look where there is just nothing in the water at all, then it would be worth having a look at running the carbon foams, because they are essentially a foam impregnated with carbon. So they're going to catch the fine particles, and they're also going to take smells, coloration, things like that out of the water. It's up to you. They are available if you want them. Like I say, this tank, probably not ideal, but there is definitely some good applications for them, and some applications that I'm thinking of in the future once I've got the garage done. That's they might come in handy. Right, so let's have a look at what muck is caught in these other filters. Now I'm going to just remove the heater there to get that out of the way, because it is just easier to get the head unit out, and I will end up doing something silly. So if I place that out the way, I know that that is there. Right, so in theory, because the 10 PPI foams have been in the pre-filter, this should have a little bit more muck caught in the main sponges. Actually, just while I've got it out, it will be worth showing you. You can see that shape to the head now, where it all sort of like bevels, I suppose the word would be, slopes down or up, because it will be the other way up anyway, but it slopes down into that impeller well, which will mean that any gases or anything that's trapped in there will get essentially purged via the impeller. To be fair, a couple of people commented on it in the last video, to be honest. It was never an issue I had with my Biomaster one, and to be honest, like, all the people that used to work in the shop that were running external filters used to run Biomasters, and I can't think of any of them that had that issue with air getting trapped in there. But obviously, Oase have listened, they have upgraded this head unit, and they have changed it so that, well, there's a solution to that problem. But I've never suffered the problem, so I can't really comment on it. But yeah, that is to fix that. So it's a great thing to see them listening and actually changing things. Now I can already see from this top foam that actually these foams have definitely caught more waste, which was something that you used to find if you were running the really fine PPI foams in the main pre-filter. Obviously not a lot of waste got through to these foams, but that does free you up to put other medias in there. So you can take out all of these foams, or not all of them, but a few of them, and replace them with biomedia or carbons or zeolites or phosphate reducers, you name it, you could put it in there. And actually on that point as well, when I was talking to Oase about getting me those foams, they actually showed me some photos of the new medias that are going to be coming out for them. So they are doing essentially a full range of filtration media, you know, biomedias and all sorts of bits and pieces to go alongside their filtration. So watch out for that in the future. I'm quite excited to try them because there is a few different ones in there that intrigue me. So yeah, I'm just going to show you this and then I'm going to get them all clean. You can see the waste that has already been caught in that. So yeah, good to see that actually the 10 PPI foams are actually letting waste through to these, and then these are doing a job now. So it's quite cool because you've got 10 PPI and then 30 PPI, so you can, yeah, grade it so that you're catching all the different muck. But yeah, let's get these foams cleaned out because there is quite a few of them in here because there's a lot of space in this filter for media. It's an absolute chunk. And then lastly, they have got their Helix plastic media, which is the high flow media, which is quite cool, to be fair. I find this really good because it doesn't trap the muck like ceramics do. It sort of lets a lot of the waste through and just builds up a good layer of bacteria, or that's the way I look at it anyway. It's a high flow media rather than the ceramics where you get a lot of poo building up on it, which is not ideal. Actually, that's one thing I want to mention on the media, and I have been running some tests and messing around with some things that will come out in later videos, I'm sure, as I go on. But one thing I want to show you is I have got some old media in this filter. That was from an old filter, just dribbling water on the floor, don't worry about it. But that is ceramics mixed in with the plastic media. Now, the only reason I've done that is because I wanted some good bacteria to colonise this filter really quickly. Now, if you look at how blocked up those pores are, I don't know if it's focusing on that, but you look at how blocked up all the pores are on that media. That has trapped a lot of waste. Whereas when you look at the plastic media, I can't pull one out, but when you look at that, it's actually not that much waste trapped on there. And it's interesting because ceramic media is great and it's got a higher surface area, but I find ceramics do always trap more waste. They do always get clogged up with more fish poo. So once they're clogged up with fish poo, and I'm sure there's someone much more scientific out there than me, but once they are clogged up with fish poo, how much surface area do they actually have? You know, who's to know? Whereas this stuff, obviously you give it one dunk and it is back to being clean and just good for bacteria to colonise the surface. Whereas this stuff, like, you've got to give it a fair few shakes, there we go, to dislodge all of that waste and get it back to looking clean. You know, there's a dirty one there. Whereas if you look at even the dirty plastic media, it's not even, yeah, it's not got much waste on it. So anyway, I am, like I say, doing a few tests and a few trial runs, but I quite like the idea of running all different medias together. I think you get high flow through the plastic media that doesn't trap waste but means that bacteria can colonize really well. You then get different bacteria living on the ceramics that are going to break down the waste that gets trapped on them, so on, so on, so on. So I think a mixture is always best. We've all got our favourites, we're all going to have our opinions on which one's best, and this one is this and this one is that. But I think they all work together. You know, I ran 30,000 litre, 15, 20... about 30,000 litre koi systems sometimes on plastic media alone, and it worked so well and was so easy to clean. But yeah, anyway, just wanted to mention that because I thought it was quite interesting how much waste ceramic catches compared to plastic. But anyway, I want to finish cleaning this because the fish are ready to go and I want to get them in here and I want to see what they like because they're just so awesome. So that's that one fully cleaned out. To be fair, it really didn't need it, to be honest. Those 10 ppi foams were, hardly mucky at all, to be honest. They would have lasted probably another few weeks, if not longer, to be honest. But the more often you clean out your filter, the more you know what's going on with it, the more you know waste isn't building up there and causing algae and so on and so on. So I think it would have lasted a hell of a lot longer. But it's better to do it now than wait and then have an issue. And also, it was just interesting to see what was going on inside there. Now I am going to swap over these foams for these red ones, which are 30 ppi, I think it said. Yeah, 30 ppi. So those are, is that 3 times finer than that? 10 ppi? I don't know what ppi stands for. Anyway, doesn't really matter. I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments. But yeah, that one can go on there. We can put these finer foams on. And we'll see how we get on and how long it takes for these to clog up compared to the 10 ppi ones. Because I'm assuming it's going to be a fair amount quicker. There we go. Done. To be fair, it's a good idea. Maybe I'll just change them out. When these get dirty, I can do a quick pit stop, swap them over for these ones, and then vice versa. Be ideal. That one back in. That's locked in place. That's everything. Now hopefully, when I open up this valve, because the piping is already primed, it should start siphoning on its own. Sounds like it is. Now the tank's full up with water, there is a big priming button on top of these filters that you can just press a few times and it will just get the water sucking and siphoning into the filter and make sure there's no air. But that seems like there's nothing left to go. It seems like it's already siphoned, so we can just turn it on and away we go. So whilst that filter is getting rid of all the air that's obviously been trapped inside those sponges and things, even though I gave everything a squeeze out, there will be now air trapped in there that will work its way out over the next course of maybe 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour, who knows. But that will get rid of it all, and obviously because of that new designed head unit, that funny domed bit, all of that air will get purged out. As you can see, it sort of, can you see on camera? Yeah, it looks a little bit misty, but that is literally just air bubbles being chucked out of the filter. Now I'm going to go and catch this pair of fish out of the quarantine tank. Hopefully they're not too tricky, and hopefully by the time I've caught them out, this should have purged all the air out, and we should be good to put them in. And I think they're going to like it, and I think they're going to look awesome, and I'm still a little bit scared of them, to be honest. Yeah, I shouldn't be. I've kept salt water. That was way more expensive than these two, but I think this is like a bucket list fish, and it's getting to me a little bit. We are back. Most of the air has seemed to purge out of the system. It's still blowing a few bubbles, but it's not going to be the end of the world. And we've got our new fish ready to acclimatise. Now, long-term viewers of my channel will be very disappointed, but there's no flamingo cup action in this video because I don't know where I've put it. Not a clue. So yeah. a bit of an issue, but I'm sure it'll turn up. I'm sure it'll be fine at some point. We may not have Flamingo Cup, but we do have Butterbeer, so, well, commence acclimatisation. Shouldn't take us long. So we're giving the fish about 45 minutes now to acclimatise. We put several cups of water down into their buckets, so we should be ready to put them in. I'm just going to dim down the lights a little bit, net them out, and see if you guys and girls can guess what they are as they go in. I don't know how colourful they'll be straight away. Here we go, the most expensive fish that I currently own are now in the tank. And they seem to have settled straight into the wood. Fingers crossed they come back out and I can actually see them. That'll be an anticlimactic video, won't it? Let's give them a minute. Now, I must admit that I actually left it a few days because time got away from me, the garage build sort of took over a few things, and yeah, I just let this pair of cichlids settle in for the last few days, and they are doing amazing. They are out and about, they are just doing so well, and I'm a little less scared of them now that I see them in the tank, coming up to the surface for food, not battling with the other fish, but definitely holding their own. Now, for people that don't already know what this fish is a Ivanacara, is one of their common names, or Ivanacara adoketa, something along those lines. Ivanacara or Nanacara, depending on where you are. Ivanacara is the new, anyway, getting very bogged down in scientific names. But yeah, they are a Ivanacara. Now, at the moment, they are looking fairly silvery with blue markings on them, and it can literally change in seconds. Like, I mean, they'll swim past each other, and I'm thinking it's a male and female. I'm hoping it's a male and female. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell, and always, you know, we'll get a bigger tank, we'll get more pairs of them, or something silly like that. But they will literally swim past each other, and those black stripes will just, like, come out of nowhere. I haven't been able to catch that much on film, to be honest, because it's a bit of a funny one. You'll be walking past the tank and they'll sort of swim past and they'll go bang, and they'll be all stripy, and then you grab the camera, you turn it on, and by the time you get back to the tank, they're blue and silver again. So it is a hard one to catch on film, so you have to follow me on my socials and things like that, because I will be posting photos of them and videos of them over the coming weeks as I get more better, interesting footage of them. But they are a stunning fish. Now, one other thing I do want to mention in this video, because it came up in the comments a few times in the last video when I'd done some stuff about the Oase Biomaster2, was the noise of it, or the sound of it. Now, I'll be totally honest with you, for me, they are some of the quietest filters that I've ran. Like, you know, I've got lots and lots of filters and tanks and pumps and all sorts running around the house, and these are quiet. So I thought if I just do this, and, excuse the mini Dyson Hoover that Quinn has put in the filter cupboard. If I hold my mic here, I'm not trying to cuddle the tank, I'm trying to let you hear the filter. But it is quiet. Like, I hardly notice it running, to be totally honest with you, unless it's just been primed, so it's still got a bit of air to go through it, which all filters are noisy until they've purged all of that air out. And the only other thing I'm thinking is all these filters come with a little pack with funny little, like, bullet-shaped rubber feet in it. I do wonder if people misplace that bag and don't put the rubber feet in, because in theory that would make it vibrate because it's then plastic on a hard wooden or whatever you're placing it on, but it then would vibrate a lot more. Whereas obviously once you've got those rubber feet on, the vibrations are sort of dissipated through it, so it is quiet. But yeah, if I had just one tank in my house, I wouldn't have any problems in running one of these filters, because they are, well, quiet. They're good. Now, I did promise you in the last video that you could all pick a fish to go in here, or you could do that whole poll thing that we've done on my social medias where you all sort of vote for a fish to go in here. Now, I haven't got round to that at the moment because I saw this pair and I had to have them. So I didn't get round to letting you guys and girls vote for what goes in here. So this is going to be it. I've got loads of votes from the last video where a lot of you said about what you think would do well in here. So this time, I want to hear what you want to say in this video, and then the next update video that comes out for this one, which will be around the same time as the garage, probably moving stuff into there for the new fish room. Probably, it's all a bit crazy at the moment, but in that next update, we're going to put a new fish in here, and you are all going to pick what it is. So I'm thinking a nice shoal would look good in here, so something to fill in. The black phantoms look good, but yeah, I think we need another hit of colour. Like red phantoms would look good because they would go with the phantoms, but would be a bit brighter maybe, or maybe we go for something subdued. I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys, but I'll pin a comment in the comment section for you all to have a bit of a chat and a bit of a discussion about what you think would be good in here. Remember, we've got the Festives that can be a little bit dirtbaggy with smaller fish, and remember, it's open top. Other than that, I'm good. Hatchet fish would be amazing in here, but open top, they're going to end up on my desk while I'm trying to edit videos, and that's just not good for anyone. I suppose the other thing is stuff on the bottom. You know, we could go for more pleco, sucker mouth catfish sort of things. We've only got 3 clown plecos in here, I think it was. So we could add some more to them. Maybe some like cool Otto Cinclus. Maybe some more corydoras, or not corydoras, gastrum, whatever they're called now, and the other 5 names that they've been split into. We could go corydoras, but yeah, anyway, I'll pin a comment. Let me know in the comments what you think is going to work in here and what you think will look cool, or what you would like to see someone keeping that maybe you haven't kept before. I'll leave it up to you guys. So, yeah, it's all good. Ivanacara, good. Oase Biomaster2, good. I think that's about it, really. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one.